It's very easy to say, you're a narcissist. You're gaslighting me. You're this, you're that. We have to be very careful not to allow that label to put us or the people we love in a box. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Grounded Pursuit. My name is Phil Merrill. I'm a licensed therapist. I'm a father. I'm a husband. I'm a follower of Jesus. And today we're going to talk about looking beyond the labels. And it made me think about how we do a lot of work here in attachment theory, right? Avoidant, anxious, secure. And what I see is a lot of people wear this label like very, very strongly. And it's just, I'm avoidant, I'm anxious, and I want to be very clear. I don't like labels. I am very wary of labels. I'm very wary of diagnoses. I think the rise of social media has contributed to a lot of over-diagnosis, over-labeling, and I think we just have to be very careful and slow and take a step back. One thing I do view is words help us make meaning and understanding of our world. The words we use, the framework, helps us gain understanding in the confusion, and that's really important. And so it's not wrong to use words or a framework. It's when that framework starts to define us or limit us that we get into trouble. And I want to speak about today. So it's important to look beyond the label. So say I've labeled myself an avoidant. That can feel very confining. That can feel very like, well, now what do I do? Is that just who I am? Is that just how I roll? Am I cursed to every interaction? I'm now avoidant? What do I do? It can feel very hopeless. Or likewise, am I anxious? Well, that sounds exhausting. I don't want to be anxious. Do I have to take medication now for anxiety? That can be a jail cell as a label. And that's what I want to avoid. We're human beings. If I had to diagnose you, you're a human being with all the complexities and imperfections and beauty that accompanies that. So you're a human being, and you feel, and you have emotions, and you're trying to make sense of the world, because the world is a confusing and hurtful place at times. It's also full of joy and full of beauty and full of mystery, but be careful not to put too much label. And one of the things that got me thinking about this was this Radio Lab, fun plug, that I listened to about color. And if you haven't listened to it, I'm going to find a link to it and put it below. But this Radio Lab on color, and it basically went through the Homer and the Odyssey, Homer's Odyssey, right? Classic Greek literature, all heard about it. And Homer's describing the color of the ocean and the sea. And what do you think he calls it? If you said blue, you'd be wrong, because he calls it the dark, the black, the wine dark sea. And there was, in the Radiolab episode, spoiler alert, they basically were like, well, maybe he was colorblind. That was a possible interpretation, that he was colorblind. But as the episode went on, it basically explored this idea that the color blue didn't naturally occur in nature until later on, when the Egyptians could artificially create it through this insect. And then, as you see in history, the word blue started to come more and more into the language. But before that, it wasn't listed at all. And then it comes down to, well, what color's the sky, right? Well, is it blue? Well, sure. But would it have been blue if you didn't have the word for blue? And then they did this experiment with this tribe who had a bunch of different words for the color green. And they gave them an experiment where they gave them a whole grid of different shades of green, or they were all the same shade of green, but one was slightly different. And when I saw it, I was like, I think it's that one. Pretty sure it's that one, but it looks really similar. But to this tribe, immediately, yep, that one right there. They did the same experiment where there's the grid of green blocks, but one of them was blue. And I saw it, and I'm like, yep, it's blue. But in the experiment, the tribe had a more difficult time identifying that blue block because of their language. They didn't have a lot of words for blue. And that's what I try to promote here is the words for emotional intelligence. Imagine the only word you had to describe your experience was anger. God, I'm angry. I'm angry. I'm angry. I'm angry. And then you start to, I'm an angry person. People categorize you as an angry person. Every interaction you're angry. But are you angry? Are you stressed? Are you disappointed? Are you annoyed? Are you inconvenienced? Are you frustrated? Right? Are you rageful? Those are so many different words that all mean slightly different things and apply to different scenarios. But if the only tool and the only word you have is angry, that can shape your experience. Then you start to see that play out again and again and again and again. Another thing, in my relationship with my wife, if I use a word to describe her, if I say, you're selfish, out of my own hurt, out of my own emotional outsourcing, I say, you're this way rather than owning how I feel. Then that word, that label has been prescribed to her, and every interaction I see becomes filtered through that word that I associated with her, right? She is spending more time with her friends than with me. She's selfish. Or is she just being healthy and having healthy, positive relationships that enable her to be a more loving mom and a more loving wife? I got to be careful what label I prescribe. And we hear a lot on social media, narcissism. That's the hot topic buzzword, narcissist. Not to deny that that clinical diagnosis does exist, but I do believe it gets over-diagnosed. It's very easy to say, you're a narcissist, you're gaslighting me, you're this, you're that. We have to be very careful not to allow that label to put us or the people we love in a box. Think about relationships you've been in. When you're really struggling to connect with someone and they say, well, that's just who I am. That's just the way I am. Doesn't that feel defeating? Doesn't that feel extremely limiting and hopeless? Because basically when someone says, well, that's just who I am, that's just how I am, what they're doing is saying, I have ascribed this label to me. I cannot move around it. I cannot move beyond it. There is no change. And when there's no change, there's no growth. And when there's no growth, there's death. If the relationship cannot grow and change, it dies. There has to be room. There has to be room beyond the label. And if I had to give you a label today, you're a human being. You're a human being with all the perfections, imperfections, beauty, mystery, hurt. You're a human being. You feel things. And allow yourself that permission. Give yourself that label. I'm a human trying to figure out my way in this world. What a comforting thought. You don't have to have it all figured out. On a lighter note, I think about introverts and extroverts. Maybe that one you've heard. Maybe you just, I'm an introvert. Okay, I only get recharged by being alone, right? I don't like being in crowds, right? That's not true. Sure, sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. Or I'm an extrovert. I have to be around people. No, you don't. You don't have to. You might have a specific need in that moment, or you might be more inclined to be energized by people, but there's moments where you don't. And imagine, maybe this is you. You get stuck in this, like, man, okay, I'm an introvert, but I'm exhausted. Is it okay for me to say I don't want to be around people? Or will that shake this label that I put on and other people have put on with me? Will that, if I adjust this label, will I still be accepted by these people? And that's a really scary, vulnerable place. And so don't be afraid to look beyond the label. Don't be afraid to recognize this is a tool, this is a framework to help us make sense of our world, but it's not set in stone. If you're an anxious, attached person, there I am using the label, or if you can connect more with avoidant attachment styles, That's not a curse. That's not forever. You can grow and you can change. And to be honest, what label you prescribe doesn't matter as much as when you are confronted with relational, emotional conflict and discomfort, what do? That's what matters. Do I want to run? Do I want to fight? Do I feel comfortable? Do I feel uncomfortable? It doesn't matter. Like what label you use, can you figure out what is my behavior? What is my feeling? Why am I uncomfortable? What do I do when I'm uncomfortable? And how does what I do affect my person, my relationship? That's all that matters. That's all you look at it. And then the labels just kind of go away. Imagine this scenario. You're learning to swim. I know I use this a lot, but it totally applies. You go in there, I'm not a swimmer. I just am not a swimmer. What does that mean? Well, I'm not good at swimming. Okay. Have you practiced it? I mean, does it mean you have a dislike for being in the water? Did you have a bad experience? Are you comfortable swimming in the swimming pool versus the ocean? Do you have a preference? Are you like trying to be like Michael Phelps swimmer, or do you like being in a jacuzzi tub? Like what do you mean by swimmer? What do you mean you're not a good swimmer, right? And the same is true as if you're trying to learn the skill of swimming, like so many of us, like I'm an anxious, I'm an avoidant. Just fix it. Just be better now. No, you need help. You need support. You need practice to navigate that and go, hey, this is what my experience is. This is this label, this word that I've used to help me make sense of my own experience. I need help and support and gentleness and grace so that I can change it. Otherwise, if I'm threatened, if I'm told I'm challenged or made fun of, I'm always going to retreat back to this label because the label's safe. The label helps me feel protected and safe and understood. And the only way I'm going to get beyond that is if I'm allowed the freedom and permission and space to explore and see how I feel in this new area, okay? So when you're trying to swim, it's not like go jump in the deep end of the ocean, like the deep end of the pool, and then what's wrong with you? Why can't you swim better? Come on, I thought you'd figure this out by now. I thought you said you wanted to be a swimmer. No. There's got to be gentleness, support. Let's walk you through. Hey, tell me what that felt like just then. You got a little water in your mouth. That probably wasn't great, but are you okay? Can we talk through that? All right? I'm giving my kids swim lessons right now, and you have to acclimate them. My 2-year-old, she's like, it's so cold. I want her to have a good experience. I want her to be comfortable. So I'm going to kind of walk with her and challenge her. Sure, you need to stay in the water so we can learn and we can pass this test, kiddie pool number 1. But I'm not going to dunk her because that wouldn't be fun for her, right? So it's an art. It's a blending of I'm with you and we can grow together. Okay, so look beyond the label. So much more we could talk about on this topic, but just wanted to get this video out while I have time, and hopefully it's supportive. Hopefully it encourages you that it's not wrong to use these terms. You'll hear me describing pursuer, withdrawer, anxious, avoidant, but that is not a curse. That is not something that you carry forever. It's just a framework to help you understand your world. Okay? So look beyond the label.